I tell you, da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. I just tried to come in live, and I hate getting booted out, knowing that something's gone wrong, and I have to calculate in my mind how much time do I have? Can I reset this up again? Do I do it? And all those thoughts are going at the same time as when I'm going. And the next thing you know, here I am, right? Sometimes it just works that way. I got myself a little Wayne dryer this morning, and it just seems just a perfect lesson in that first day that I'm heading out in that job that puts the roof over my head, that I'm able to go there and shine and recognize that, that I am privileged in my life, the way that I get to direct and create my life, but it is not without the hiccups. And it's not that way for anybody. It's just how we ride the waves, right? And you can look at my life and call it a measly little life, or you can look at my life and go, oh my goodness, I wish that was there, or I wish if that was me, this is what I would do, right? But each one of us just has this moment that we're in, this moment where we're moving and making decisions at the same time. This is the world that we live in, you guys. This digital age has allowed us to think and move really, really, really fast. And whether I say move really fast, I don't necessarily mean physically move really fast. Sometimes it's mentally move really fast. Sometimes it's emotionally we move really, really fast. Some of the symptoms, some of the side effects of this age that we have moved into. Some of us intentionally, some of us kind of fell into it through circumstances. When we were in the midst of COVID, you had parents and grandparents who wouldn't have been able to make connections with their kids or follow up with their grandkids if they hadn't had that little bit of inclination to learn how to use Zoom or Messenger. So we have all been pulled into the digital age, right? Even in third world countries where people have so little, close to nothing, and yet that technology is in the palm of their hands, like it's their lifeline. Like the kids are being born these days and going, "Where's my iPhone?" Right? This is this is the addictions that first lead us in, right? There's a reason that we don't quite understand things up until a certain age. And I think it's a lot of it is because we're not meant to understand. When I go back, I do a lot of going back, you guys. When I go back, there are times in my life that are the walls, that are the ceilings in how far that I can go back. And there's a reason for that. And I have to accept sometimes that there is a reason for that. And lots of us, we go against that grain. We push it. Even I do. When I needed to get things done on my set of days off, I had to push a little bit to get that done, but it's in our choices and in our recognitions of how well we're doing emotionally, physically, and mentally that can dictate where that ceiling is, right? And if you're comfortable in that, right? That comfortable is a signal that you can take on a little bit more. Comfortable will set you back in a way that will, right, set you back to some of those old ways that maybe possibly you've been working really, really hard at overcoming or achieving, right? That movement is movement, and we are all drawn in our own ways into the directions that we're going to go in, and lots of times those directions are not in the directions of the people around us, the people who think they get to have a say, right? Everybody's vying for our attention. If we're around people, we are fair game in that influence. And I'm going to call it influence, even though we all know that it isn't all influence. A lot of it is manipulation, right? And I love entrepreneurship, right? And I love mindset. But there is that fine line because, right, you need to get somebody to where you need them to be. And sometimes in being able to, we do that when it's not necessarily the best thing in the moment. And I recognize that for myself, like I recognize that for other people, but sometimes, right, we want everybody to come along for that ride. We don't want to go off all by ourselves, hang out all by ourselves, right? But in what we feel we need to do, we do it. And we know it might ruffle feathers. It might dampen people's moods. It might disappoint and let people down, right? Only in the moment, right? Because it's in those struggles, it's in those failures, and it's in the fear of those struggles and the fear of those failures that we just kind of get nervous for each other, right? I'd like to say we should get a little bit nervous for ourselves because we are the ones taking the risk in that. But risk is only having the courage to go against that grain, isn't it? So, a little bit of risk when we're feeling comfortable can be a good thing. It can be a good thing, right? In that, there might be a choice that might designate a new direction, a little bit of change coming into our lives, or sometimes it's just a little bit of preoccupation in that comfort, right? And sometimes we need that in baby steps. We need that curiosity to set in. We need that planning and that dreaming and that wishing to set in. Sometimes we need the discomfort and the failures and the hiccups and those wrenches in the engine to show up. And they will, right? And at that point, we don't have a choice. The change is happening, isn't it? But wouldn't it be absolutely amazing to have a few lessons under our belt, a few relationships under our belt, a few insights into the direction that we want to move in our sights? That happiness and that recognition, right? That, oh, you might have picked well after all. It's not so discomfortable and it's not too comfortable, right? Because comfortableness will stall us out, but that discomfort will scare us off, won't it? Sometimes, most of the time, if you're anything like me, and it has been a process, I have been on YouTube for 10 years after all, right? I'm not in a rush. I want to do this right. I don't want to do this fast. I am comfortable. I am safe and I am still curious. And more importantly, I'm still smiling, right? So that says something, doesn't it? And I don't know who that's for, but yeah, munch on that one. I know I'll come back in later tonight and munch on it myself. Okay, just a couple of minutes before I run off. We got this word balance, you guys, right? My goodness, the way the words pop up, you know, for me, and at the same time, in sharing these cards and these 54 powerful words, I suspect that balance is what we've just been talking about, right? In finding that comfort zone and just adding on to the comfort, right? To just make a little bit of edge so that we are kind of forced to make a little choice, right? And in that little choice, if we choose well in taking that risk and being brave enough, right, that maybe we can inch a little bit closer to something that will offer up. And I'll just turn that down there for a second. that will offer up a little bit of information that will give us a better insight into the direction that we need to be going in. Lots of times we just need a boot in the butt, but sometimes we need something that will point the finger in the direction that we need, whether that's an inclination, whether it's a conversation, whether it's an experience that we haven't had yet. And when we rush into things, right? Sometimes we take, well, that was the best of the lot, not realizing that the best is yet to come, right? And sometimes in that balance, we're jumping into something way too soon before we have had, and I've talked a little bit about it last week, the prerequisite, the lessons before, those little steps before that make it possible that we can do something a little bit outside of what's comfortable for us. Yeah, kind of neat how it balances out. Grateful for this job that puts the roof over my head, that balances it out a little bit more after a few days off and a little bit of Wayne Fire. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer, and we'll see you tomorrow.